Matthew here. Today I'm going to show you how I use the Elektron Octatrack as a live performance mixer and looper. Digitac is going into A and B on the Octatrack. Digitone is going into C and D on the Octatrack. Clock is being sent by the Digitac. MIDI is going out through the Digitac into the Digitone. MIDI through is going into the Octatrack. I chose to have the Digitac be the master clock and the pattern master because it's had most of the bugs flushed out of it. There's some problems with the Octatrack being in charge of everything because for some reason the Digitone has trouble keeping up with the Octatrack for the first bar of a pattern or through the first playthrough of a pattern. Plus, it doesn't have tempo per pattern, so the Digitac's an easy pick. Despite the Octatrack and the Digitone having their differences, I still couldn't live without the Octatrack. It for sure is what makes this whole setup valuable. And that's because I can resample what these two are playing into the Octatrack in stereo so that the audience can't tell that I'm doing it. I'm able to mix things up on the fly, and no one is aware that I've been in the middle of that process. Before we get started, let's do something important. Bring all the track levels to 127. This is considered unity gain on the Octatrack. The only one it doesn't matter on is track 8, because that will be a master track. Let's get started. First thing that we want to do is to create a THRU track. Press source twice. Select THRU track. On the input section, select A and B. Turn the volume to 63. That's unity gain. Next, on track 2, press source twice and select a neighbor track. We're now going to repeat this process for input C and D. THRU track, input C and D, volume 63, neighbor. On your THRU tracks, be sure to remember to put your playback trigs. Otherwise, they won't work. I want separate freeze delays for both the Digitac input and the Digitone input at the end of their audio chain. That would take place on a neighbor track. Select your neighbor track. Double press FX2 to go into the delay that should already be there. I'm going to use ping pong, turn tape off, and turn lock on. These are the settings for the freeze delay. Make sure your send is above 0 and your feedback is at 100%, which is 127. Let's do this again for the neighbor track below the Digitone input. Cool. We now have freeze delays on both the end of the chain for the Digitac and the Digitone. That's here and here. These two are the regular delays that come on our track here. We don't need them, but we can use them if we like. I'll make it a dark reverb. See how it disappears? These are our freeze delays. Next, hold Q and select Record 1 and Record 2. Then go into your mixer and turn your Q mix for your headphones all the way to positive 63. Doing this will allow you to monitor the unaffected signal of input A and B and C and D through your headphone output jack. Okay, now let's set up our tracks for resampling. Go to track 5, press source twice, and select flex track. Turn the loop off and leave the slice off. Now, select the correct recording buffer, track 5, recording buffer 5. We're going to do this for 2 more tracks. Now go into your project settings, go into Control and Audio, and choose Master for track 8 if you haven't done so already. Now go into your master track, go into the settings of your delay to turn this one into a freeze delay. Lock on, send up, and feedback all the way. Now we're ready to turn our flex tracks into tracks for resampling. Now let's set up our playback and record trigs. Go into record mode, place down a playback trig. Go into the scale. Make sure your track scale matches your master length. Hold function, go to record setup 1, place a record trig down. Hold function and press the record trig to create a one-shot. Hold function, press no to disarm the one-shot trig. Now hold down the trig and deselect A, B, C, and D so you're only left with internal. Change the internal source of recording to track 2, which is our neighbor track, which is the output for our external gear of A, B. Change the record length to 64 to match the master track length that you can see here. Do that again for track 6, except for we want to set the record input of source 3 to track 4. Now let's set up our master recorder. So far, these two recorders would record the machines separately. Track 5 records the Digitac input, track 6 records the Digitone input. Track 7 is going to record the whole master. Place down a playback trig, go into record setup 1, place down a recorder trig, make it a one-shot, disarm it, make sure the source is set to source 3, but change that source here to track 8 so it records the master track. Bring the R length to 64. We're now ready to create our scenes for using these resample tracks. Now we want to create scenes that when fully activated mute the incoming audio and play back the recorded audio on our flex tracks. We're going to create 3 scenes. The first scene is going to play the recorded version of input A and B, but the live version of C and D. The second scene will do the inverse of that, the recorded version of C and D, but the live version of A and B. And the third scene is going to play a recorded version of everything and mute everything else. To get started, we'll bring the volume of our resample tracks to their minimum, -64. For our first scene, we're going to listen to the recorded Digitac and the live Digitone. So choose a scene to bring the volume up to 0. And now we're going to bring the volume of our Digitac live to the X minimum here. Now choose another scene, and let's do that for the Digitone. Just bring this one up to 0, and this one all the way down to X minimum. And lastly, our master recorder, we will bring up to 0, and we will bring both of these to X minimum. All audio inputs to X minimum. Now, just to be safe, and something you should get into the practice of doing, is go into your parts section and save your parts. That just means that if you screw one of these things up you just spent all that time working on, you can hit function and reload part and get back to that position. Now let's put this into practice. Let's activate our record trigs first. Track 5, yes. Track 6, yes. Track 7, yes. This armed all the record trigs. Let's begin our sequence. The record trigs are activated and recording everything it's hearing separately to 3 different record buffers. On track 5, we have the record buffer for just the Digitac and the live Digitone. Let's hear what that sounds like. I don't hear any difference. Perfect. Let's add hi-hats here on the Digitac. Now we can fade into those hi-hats. Perfect. Let's try the Digitone. Let's change something on the Digitone. Let's fade into that. Cool. Let's try the master track. That's our original original recording. You now can live remix anything you want separately. Now let's try using our freeze delays with this. It's pretty cool. I'm going to activate the record buffers. Just the digitone for this one. And switched over to the digitone. You could do this with any of them. We can stack that with the master track as well. The recorders will start after the 4 bars have come through. And now I've switched over to the master recorder. You can see it here. And now, back to the live input of the Digitac and the digitone.